Hey everyone, I'm Melissa from Knitting the Stash, and today I want to talk to you about the double basket weave rib stitch, which is what I use around the brim of my Rose Cottage Cap. So I'll show you up close, and I'm showing you up close sideways because that's how this brim is knit. For the brim, cast on 14 stitches and knit vertically around to create a strip of fabric. Then, once the fabric is created and you've Kitchenered it together, you pick up stitches around here and complete the rest of the brim. But I'm going to talk to you about this stitch today because my new pattern's coming out and I want to make sure everybody knows how to do it. So, I have a little sample right over here. And this is, I've cast on 14 stitches for the brim. And I've been knitting in the double basket weave ribbing stitch here for a little while. So I'm going to show you first the right side. And this is basically cabling without a cable needle to complete this stitch. So if you have the pattern and you're looking at the directions, what you're basically doing is cabling without a cable needle. So I'm going to bring you in a little closer and we'll get to doing a little knitting here. All right. So I'm on a right side row. And what I have is 14 stitches on the needle. So the first stitch and the last stitch, on the right side, they're always going to be knits, and on the wrong side, they're always going to be purls. The middle 12 stitches are basically in pairs. So you're going to always treat them like they're pairs of stitches. So you work with these two, and then these two, and these two, and these two, and these two as you go along. On the right side, what we're going to do first is you can either slip this stitch. I like to knit it to create a little bit of a stronger edge, but I had some test knitters who like to slip it. So you knit the first stitch, and then as I said, you're going to treat the next two stitches as a pair of stitches. So we're going to knit into the back loop of that stitch, leave it on the needle, and then we're going to knit into the front loop, a regular old knit stitch, for that first stitch. Pull it through and then pull both stitches off the needle. Again, next pair, into the back loop, leave it on the needle, in through the front of that first stitch just like a regular knit, and pull them both off the needle. So we'll continue like that, as I said, for all 12 of these middle stitches. I'm trying to go slowly enough that you can see what I'm doing. Back into the back loop, through the back loop, knit, through the front, regular old knit stitch, all the way across. It can be a little fiddly, but it's not so bad. Back loop, through the front, and the last pair through the back loop, and through the front. And remember I said we always knit those outside stitches, so I'll just knit that one. So that's a right side row. And we'll turn the work and we'll do a wrong side row. So as I said, we're always going to purl the first and last of these 14 stitches. So the first thing I'm going to do is purl that stitch with the yarn in front. After that purl stitch, the first thing we're going to do is knit this second stitch over here. So we're going to bring our yarn to the back and we're going to knit this second stitch just like you would normally through that front loop. Pull it through and leave it on the needle. Bring your yarn to the front and purl that first stitch of those pairs. Both of those stitches can come off. Then we're going to go to the back and we're going to knit that stitch again, that second of those pairs. Oh, it's a little fiddly sometimes. Leave it on there, bring the yarn to the front, and purl that first stitch of the pair. And then let those two stitches fall off, and we'll just keep going. So we're always knitting that second stitch, leaving it on, purling that first stitch, taking them both off. Knitting that second stitch, purling that first stitch and popping them both off all the way to the end. So we have a couple more pairs to go here. I'll just try to zoom through it for you. Pull them both off, and the last pair, into the second stitch, pull it over, yarn to the front, and purl through that first stitch of the pair. And there they go, and then you purl your last stitch. Whoops. Sometimes you get that extra yarn in there. Purl your last stitch. So that's what your double basket weave looks like. I'll show you up close here and try to get the camera to focus on it. And it creates a cool brim effect for the hat because it's actually stretchy this direction. So it acts like it's not very stretchy this direction. So it's stretchy this direction, which allows your hat to kind of stretch over your head, which I think is a nice kind of feature. So that is the double basket weave rib for the Rose Cottage Cap. I hope it's helpful, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.